Lunchtime, kids! All right! Hello, friends. It's lunchtime.
Welcome to the Lunch Break Show. I am Josh. We have some hot topics on the menu for today. Welcome. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we're right here. We have Zach, we have Matt, and we're joined by two special guests, Brian Glenn. He's been here before.
Thank you.
And Jen Johnson. Hello there, Jen.
Hello. How are you today?
Doing good. I hope you haven't stepped into a pit of conversation here.
I think I might have.
Yeah.
The door's right there, and it is unlocked.
I'm not,
okay, just
no,
let
I'm
you know.
not leaving. I'm up for it. I'm up for
Okay.
the challenge.
Exits at the front and back of the plane.
So we were getting a little worked up in the like build up to the show.
Which, by the way, you have the best show open of literally any show
I love it.
that's on the air
That
right
is a
now.
funky
Thanks.
bass intro.
It's a good line.
What a
yeah.
great line.
Yeah.
Is that you playing the bass?
I wish. No, it's some guy on YouTube.
But
Some guy on YouTube.
That's his mom saying it's lunch time.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
kids. Lunchtime,
That's
kids.
So we're talking about this because it's all over TV, social media, anywhere where you look. You're looking at Roseanne Barr once again, back in the limelight. This time, not for what she tweeted, but because of the hypocrisy people are saying, based on Susan B. Samantha B.
Who I've never
Close.
even heard of until
Yeah,
until
Samantha
this-
B. Works for I think MSNBC.
TBS.
TBS.
So close, TBS.
Well, we got this on lock today.
Yeah, we are on point.
checking.
Factual as always.
Yes.
I saw a headline with her MSNBC logo, so I just
There
put
you
the two
go.
and two together. You know, I am a real journalist there, Matt. Wait, so she
I can
works
tell.
for TBS, and she called Ivanka Trump the C word.
Yeah.
I think on air.
On air.
Yeah,
Which
on
is
air.
ridiculous, let me just say,
Sure.
for a female to say
That's
that.
a nasty word from
It's nasty.
in the female.
Exactly, it's nasty.
Hemisphere.
And that's
Thank
part of
you.
the problem with women is why do we attack one another? I mean, that's just completely ridiculous. I mean, we're here at this women's movement. You know, here is our time to shine and to rise like never before in history, and you've got something like that happening. It's disgraceful.
Yeah, so there was that, and then that's unfortunately not all. She also told, and I'm going to get this wrong, but roughly saying, go put on some tight clothes and go get daddy to sign this bill or something of that regard.
Yeah.
And so
She could not have said that.
yes.
Well, basically, she said put on something tight.
Okay.
And low cut, yeah.
Low
Okay.
cut tight, and go get your dad to chase his immigration policies. So go tease daddy to
Yeah.
get the immigration
So-
party I want.
Okay.
Those are the two things that she said. I don't think anyone would disagree that was out of line, inappropriate. I don't think it's the same as what Roseanne Barr said.
I gotta be honest. I like playing devil's advocate on this show. I'm afraid to jump on this one. Like I'm afraid to wade into these waters. But here we are.
Yeah, but before the show started, Brian Glenn was giving me a mouthful about why I am wrong on this.
They're both wrong. I mean, they're both statements obviously are wrong. One is racist, and one is just poor taste.
Yes.
Sure.
Okay.
Agreed.
I think the racist tweet is worse, actually,
Okay.
than the poor taste. Okay. Do they both deserve punishment of some sort? Absolutely. Does Roseanne Barr deserve to have her show canceled after this racist tweet? That's a little harsh. That's a little harsh. But I told you this earlier, and I don't want to get too much off the base. I think this is more about, it's not about Roseanne Barr. It's about Roseanne Barr's audience, heavily Trump supporters. This is just
I agree.
another backlash from Hollywood and the left of saying, you know what, Trump supporters, we've had enough of you. And this is exactly what got him elected with the whole basket of deplorable comment that Hillary Clinton said.
Sure.
So as a conservative Republican and as a Trump supporter, keep it up because this is what's going to get him 2020.
So here's my question to you, because you said racist was worse.
I
what
think-
Roseanne Barr said, but the other girl should get fired for not saying the worst comment.
I don't think she should get fired. I actually don't think she should get fired. I think actually let the consumer do the punishment. Vote upon if you don't want to watch the show.
100%.
If you look at the ratings, what's happened on CNN anyway, and all those MSNBC hee-haw is what I like to call it.
Yeah.
You know, you look at their ratings; they're all at the bottom. It's because America is turning it off. They're
That's
losing all
exactly
their
right.
credibility, and there's no more non-bias in the media. It is all bias, and on both sides. On Fox, CNN, MSNBC, they're all got some type of agenda. So I just say, give it up to the consumer. Let the consumer decide whether or not they're going to watch that show.
I think if you own a network, you have the right to say, I choose not to let you represent my brand.
Correct.
100%,
But why do they continue to let her
100%.
represent the brand, though? If you went on and called somebody a C word and you were working for a Fortune 500 company, do you think you still have a job?
No
No.
way.
But see, I'm starting to think it's impossible to get fired on the left.
No,
If you can come out and say the president's this, by the way, Bill Maher compared him also to an orangutan, an orange orangutan. So he compared.
But that's not a. But there's no racial implications from a white person being compared to an orangutan.
Okay.
So that's that's there too. And I believe someone did step down from the left. The senator who
Al
was
Franken.
Al Franken, who stepped down when many Republicans who have been caught in way worse sexual scandals have not stepped down.
Right. The whole sexual scandal thing. Yeah.
So there's a whole back and forth, and I think it just goes down to if you own the network, if you own the rights and the advertising, and you know what, I'm going to stand by your comment. Your apology is good enough for me. Then that needs to stand.
But what this becomes a witch hunt, though, Josh. Becomes a witch hunt because if you say something on the right that is somewhat offensive or deemed racist. Every 5 minutes there's an outrage in this country. Every 5 minutes someone's upset about something. They target your sponsors to try to pick them away one by one. They did that with Bill O'Reilly. They did that with Sean Hannity here recently, Laura Ingraham. If you say something out of line, they will come after your sponsors, and that's the goal of all of it, is to bring down. Think about this for a second. If there was not Fox News, what other voice of different sides of opinion in this country would we have? But take talk radio, take podcast out, and take Fox News. What else do you have?
Well, you got publications like the Daily Caller, or even something like Breitbart, right? But I guess that's not a news. That's not. Yeah.
Nope. It's all opinion.
Yeah. So I think you go back to saying they go after the sponsors. That's what Chick-fil-A had the same thing happen to them.
But these spineless. Here's another rant. These spineless sponsors that they get a dozen emails into their corporate office and go, oh, we're losing our base. We have got to cut ties with Jens Johnson because she is going to ruin our company. These spineless sponsors, if they would just stand their ground, the majority of Americans recognize what's going on with here, and they're going to support you. When Chick-fil-A came out on gay marriage and said, we stand by the Bible, you know what happened with their sales? It doubled.
They went up.
It doubled.
Well, the same happened with Dick's Sporting Goods and cutting out assault rifles. They've seen increases in sales.
Yeah.
Right. I think we should
you
let
just
the consumers be.
And I still think it's almost impossible to get fired on the left. But I really do. You'd have to say something really bad to get fired.
But
it does go back to who is in control.
There's a certain poetic irony there. The idea of a liberal being able to speak their mind freely and not get fired versus a conservative who's supposed to stand for values who says something that's caustic and suddenly they get canned. I mean, isn't there something there in the title that just implies
But see, the left,
something?
a lot of times the left says they're so open to new ideas and they're so tolerant until you disagree with them, and then they label you racist, bigoted, homophobic, xenophobic, and they put every label on you to isolate you. You guys, please tell me you watch the news, you see things. Please tell me. Because in my personal life, I've had people that were very close to me, and as soon as they found out that I voted for Trump and I was a Trump supporter, I was pushed out of their life like you would not believe.
See, what amazes me about that, I grew up in a family that we were all very political, and we would sit down at the table and we would talk about our political views. But we respected everybody's views. And we live in the United States of America. It's a democracy. You go and you vote. That's your civil duty, your responsibility that I don't think people take seriously. You vote. And then whoever wins is who we support. Yeah. Like, what happened to that?
It's because we turn to places like TMZ for our information.
Well, again, I think we're getting away from that though. So this is the first chat we've had where we haven't had enough mics. I want to Skype in Jeff Crilly. Jeff, are you there?
Yeah, I sure am.
Great. So Jeff, you've heard some of the commentary back and forth from a PR standpoint. From a media crisis angle. How would you be coaching TBS right now on how to handle their talent?
Well, I got to tell you, and first of all, great show. This is a very lively show. I love the interaction, and I may disagree with some of your guests, who I have a great deal of respect for. I think the bottom line from a crisis communication standpoint is that all of the old books on PR have been burned. I mean, the plan that would have worked 3 months ago no longer works. And so I know Brian Glenn, who I love like a brother, will disagree with me on this, but I think ABC needed to make a bold statement, and they did, and they're being applauded by the country, even though it cost them a lot of money. I mean, it really did. It was their #1 rated show. It was a costly decision. They had to make a decision, and they had to make a bold statement. Now, Samantha Bee, I'd love to see the same kind of bold statement being done by her network. If her network chooses not to do that, I don't know, Brian, feel free to disagree, if that was because it's a liberal network. I really don't know if that goes into it. I don't think you have a bunch of liberals huddled together around a bar talking about what they should do and how they should conspire to take down the Republicans. I'm not going to buy that conspiracy theory.
Well, I will say this, and I listen to probably 6 hours of talk radio per day. And if you show me a left-leaning talk show, I will listen to that too. There are people that sit around and listen to every single thing a Sean Hannity says, Larry Elders, any one of the people on the conservative right. They do listen to every word they say because they're looking for that little crease that they can open up the door and kick down and say, see, he's a racist. I told you so. So I think they do watch everything and listen to everything that comes from the right because they're looking for an opportunity to expose them as some type of racist.
And at the end of the day, Brian, wouldn't you agree that the voter is the public? And what we saw was basically the public applauding the decision by ABC to cancel Roseanne. I don't hear a lot of wailing.
Not everybody.
I haven't seen it though.
Not everybody.
I haven't seen it.
Right.
But you've seen it on maybe the CNN feed and the MSNBC feed.
You haven't seen what? Sorry.
I have not seen this huge support of ABC. That's me personally.
Oh, well, but again, maybe that's because you spend 6 hours looking at conservative talk.
Well, show me where I can. But you know why? You know why I listen to conservative talk? Because it makes sense. Left-leaning talk. There's a reason why the terrestrial.
No. That makes sense to you.
No. Because it's all about feelings on the left. It's all about feelings, not fact. And you can't talk about feelings for 2 hours a day. You can talk about facts.
But again, where in this conversation do we respect one another's views?
It's gone.
That's
Jens, it's gone.
my whole point.
It's gone. If you have a different opinion than me,
it's just, to me, that's the problem.
That's the problem. We don't listen anymore.
The problem is that we can have opposing views, but we still respect one another. And I think at the end of the day, that's not happening.
It's not happening.
It's not happening.
If you keep listening to the same thing and you only hear what you want to hear, you end up in an echo chamber and you're not getting anywhere.
Absolutely.
Right. It's important to have conversations like this one where we're willing to have a discourse.
But would you please, and Jeff, if you can hear me right now, would you agree that if you go on CNN, I challenge you right now. I've got $5 in my pocket. If you can find a positive story about this country and what Donald Trump has done with the, record levels of unemployment, booming economy, booming Wall Street, 401ks, losing the highest housing starts, and find that story and let me know. You won't see it. You see that Trump won't get out of the golf cart because he's too lazy, but he's an advocate for physical fitness. He's a hypocrite. Ivanka Trump, it's tabloidish stories that are being covered. And that's my biggest problem because people, the general public that turns to the CNN and the MSNBC, they're not seeing all the great things happening in this country because they're too worried about what he might have said or what he implied or his orange hair and how crazy is it. We have TMZ'd our news.
To me, at the end of the day, none of that matters. From my viewpoint, what are we doing individually to make our communities better?
Let me ask you a question, Josh. Let me ask you a question. Has your life changed dramatically since Donald Trump won in the presidency?
I mean, I hear a lot more conversations like this. No.
But has your life gotten worse?
It has not.
Thank you. Anybody else? Chime in. Anybody's else?
But my life didn't change when President Obama went into the office.
But mine did. My health insurance went up 3 times. Right? Unemployment rate was up.
Well, he had 8 years. Trump's got 1. I mean, there's some time there.
My property tax has gone up in the last
That's because
year.
you live in Texas.
But
you're going to blame the governor for having crazy, insane property taxes? Yes, blame your governor for that. It's not Donald Trump's fault.
It's difficult to bring it back around to the beginning of this conversation. Please. It's difficult for me to point fingers towards the idea of one side being more sensitive to the other when I feel like we're often so like you mentioned with the canceling of Roseanne and people going to the voting booth and being angry and outraged, I don't think you should be going to a voting booth and being upset about a show getting canceled and that deciding how you
They're
vote.
going to the voting booth because we have lost direction in this country. We were told for 8 years to take a back seat to the American values and the American dream, and literally pushing. We can talk about religion for 2 hours if you want to.
Sure.
How we push God out of our lives. Out of all of our lives. And
Oh,
all this,
that's a whole show,
And the whole
yeah.
thoughts and prayers thing. Don't even get. Is there a soapbox in here? I didn't know there was one in here because I need to find
Well,
one.
if there-
Because
If Brian's here, we got a box.
well, but what I'm saying, you're right on that point.
Yeah.
They're not going to go to the voting booth because Roseanne's
not.
shows.
Yeah,
they're not
like
going to
you-
do that.
yeah, right.
Because we're not that stupid. All right, we're going to go to the voting booth to keep this country going in the right direction, get
Right.
Security, national security, foreign policy, and helping the average American, just like you and I, prosper in this greatest country that we have in the world.
Sure.
That's it.
But you don't.
Bottom line.
But the problem is that when you say it that way, like no one wants to hear that because it comes off as like a giant jerk. You're coming off as someone
Why?
who
Why
nobody.
is it? Look, you want to know what I have right now? These are Vans. These are checkerboard red, white, and blue Vans.
Yeah.
There's a reason why these shoes were on
you get that
special.
off
You know
so
why?
fast?
You know, I know. It's because
They're slip-ons. Don't be impressed.
for the longest time, we have lost.
Yeah.
It has not been cool to be patriotic in this country. We've been told.
That's not true.
It's true, Josh.
No. After 9/11, more men and women went
after
inside-
9/11?
But I'm saying,
I know.
when something happens and rallies us
Last
together.
8 years, have we had a president that's been pro-American in the last 8 years?
Yes.
Really?
I mean, he was the leader of the
He
country.
had
By
the
default,
worst. He
he
had
has
the
to.
worst economic policies ever in the history
Sure.
of this
That
country.
is-
We have more people on food stamps
got-
more than ever.
Again, but here's the thing: is I know
This is a great show.
We
Thank
need
you
to-
so
we
much
need
for having me
to
come in.
check-
I love you guys. You know
we
that.
need to
No, no,
check
yeah.
Brian's blood pressure
Yeah.
about right now.
Yeah.
I
Does
mean,
anybody
this
need
is-
a fresh cup of coffee?
Yeah. But to me, I think it's all distractions.
Sure.
I mean, it's noise.
Let me-
It's noise and distraction that individual people can say, "Oh, let me look at my phone and let me fill my brain with just noise and nonsense instead of doing something productive with themselves."
Yeah.
Individually,
that's my viewpoint on this.
individually, I'm inclined to agree. By the individual, it is noise. But if enough people do it, suddenly it's not. You can't ignore
Yeah.
the noise. like it's no longer noise. It's a
But
problem.
if more people stood up and said, "Okay, my standard for myself," because you can only start with yourself first, is excellence.
Mm-hmm.
My standard is I'm going to treat people with kindness. I'm going to treat people with respect.
Sure.
And you have that personal standard, and then that is what we talk about. What we talk about is what we bring about.
Right.
And as a society, not just here in the States, but as a society all over,
I agree.
people are distracted by noise, and we're not focusing on what's productive, in my opinion. People are the ones that are going to make the changes.
I totally agree with you. Jeff, we're not going to let you go. I know you got a lot going on. You did not sign on for a 30-minute debate.
We apologize, Jeff.
Yeah.
Great show. You guys are doing a great job.
Thanks, Jeff. That's on like a closing point to me. That's my issue, is that both sides, right and left, feel like if I can scream louder, if I can talk more, if I can say that my president is not patriotic because he made bad policies. Like President Obama was an American. He loved America. He maybe had different views and values than yours. Doesn't make him less patriotic.
Well,
he doesn't have to open up for Toby Keith to be an American in my standard. He loved Americans. He took care of Americans. Some ones that have been forgotten about for a long time in the country. And so the problem with me with conservatism, and I'm conservative. I am.
I know you are.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of a libertarian, to be honest with you. I'm right in the middle. I'm very liberal on social issues. I'm all for gay marriage
Sure.
and pro-choice, whatever. I love that.
But that's the shame to me is when I say I'm conservative. Is I know they're putting me with people like Ted Cruz, who I do not like.
Why?
I don't like Ted Cruz because he's a jerk.
Right.
No. Don't give me
No,
personality. Give me policy. What has he done to affect you?
That's why I don't like Ted Cruz. He's a jerk.
Okay, but that doesn't count.
It does count.
No, it doesn't, John.
Everybody
why-
has the
Look,
right
let me
to
ask you a
their own
story.
opinion.
Donald Trump has the worst bedside manner of anybody I've
Yes.
ever met. Okay, but listen. He's the kind of doctor that goes into your room and says, "You're fat, you're overweight, you need to exercise, stop drinking, or you're going to die. Have a nice day," and walks out. He tells you exactly what needs to happen. He doesn't sugarcoat it. Did I vote for President Trump for his personality?
No.
Hell no, I didn't. I voted for his policies to put this country forward in the right direction and put American values back in this country and stop trying to be like Europe. Go look at Europe. See, the very people.
Again, let's take it down.
I can't because it's disgusting.
fired up about this.
Because what happens? Let me tell you what happens on Memorial Day and Veterans Day. The left comes out and says, "Oh, we want to thank all of our soldiers and all the ones that have fallen for this country." The very next day, you tell me you want the military to go down. You want us to be just like Europe. Forget about the borders. It's just you're American. You're American when it's popular to get there on social media and get everybody thinking you're American. But then you go back to the values of Europe. I do not want to break down Western civilization.
But no, Brian, no, I agree with you that Europe does not have their stuff together.
They're a shit show right now.
But carrying a flag and walking around and again doing the Toby Keith thing, talking about how I want to protect our borders, does not make you American.
Protecting our borders is.
No,
I'm all for the wall. Can't get big enough, in my opinion. Build the wall to this. Because the wall separates. You do not have a country unless you have a border.
You are confusing your values with American values. You're saying my values are more important than any minority person who's come over here legally or illegally, but legally, let's just focus on that, for example, who have come over here legally and have family back in Mexico or have family overseas. You're saying my values are more important. I'm more American
because
than
let
you
me
are.
ask you a question. If I'm an American, the last time I checked, you can only vote in this country if you're an American.
Well, and see, that's the thing is at the end of the day, we are a country
you don't tell me you don't have to be a U.S. citizen. You don't have to be a U.S. citizen to vote.
You can have a green card and vote for local and state
elections.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
There you go.
But as far as policy, election of president, yes, immigration is a whole nother subject.
Hold her back. And we don't have enough show.
I know. I apologize for getting off on these rabbit trails.
But at the end of the day, we're a country and we are supposed to follow laws. And it's not opinions. I mean, and that's the thing is, you know, we cannot agree with the law. But if that's the law, we have to follow the law. And I think that's where people start to share their opinions. Well, you know what? Okay, great, you have an opinion, but what is the law? And
how many naturalization processes have you guys been in?
That's what we need to be educating.
A dozen.
That's what we need to be educating.
I've been a dozen naturalization processes, okay? I've seen the tears. I've seen the joy go through these people's face. They've waited for 10, 12, 13 years, spent thousands of dollars. They did it the right way. And you ask them, what do you think about the guy hopping over the fence, taking the job, and sneaking this country? They don't like it.
That's a different argument. No one's going to like that, but then you're not putting yourself in that person's shoes.
I don't have to put my God bless them. There's a legal way to get in this country. Do it the right way.
But you say that as you're an American citizen. It's a
totally because it's my right to say that. I live in this country. I was born here. I'm an American.
That's the reason why people don't like that stance, because you're not looking. You're not.
So you're just supposed to let the wall down and anybody come in?
No, but you can be sympathetic. You can be empathetic.
It doesn't mean I'm that.
You can think about other people and the fight that they have to go through and the reasons why.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
This
is great.
No,
just
stop.
do it the right way.
The reason why they're scaling a wall, the reason why they want to leave everything behind and come to an American territory where they have a chance to survive, chance to live, and a chance to thrive. Is it wrong? Sure, it's wrong. No one would doubt that. But there's a reason why they're doing it, and we're not handling that. We're just going, shame on you, when we have no business doing that. Well, we've never faced that fear. We've never faced that poverty. Never faced those issues. And so to say, how dare you, we come off as being ignorant, as a American. And so that's my problem with that, is that there's a way to get this solved, and one side's saying build the wall, one side says let them all in, and they're both wrong, and we're never going to get anywhere until we think about the other side and try to put ourselves in their shoes.
Okay, remember the comment that Donald Trump said about animals, called the MS-13 gang animals? Well, guess what the media did? Spun that and made it all immigrants or animals. And that is a fact, and the New York Post had to retract that statement.
Yes.
And they retracted it with their tail between their legs, so they know. But that's another example. Hell, he did not call immigrants and illegal and anybody coming from these foreign countries animals. He called the MS-13 gang animals. Great example.
We're going to have you back on for part 2.
I don't think you're going to let me back in the building, to be honest with you. I have no idea.
How often can we get Brian back on the show? This is good stuff.
We have hijacked
you want ratings, sir. You don't want me to.
Yeah.
I think they're booked through 2020, Brian, but they'll get back to you.
To get back into a more of a lunch break topic, when we come back next, we have ways to make your own lasagna.
Oh, I'm sticking around. No, I'm sticking around for that. I love it. I'm here.
Coming right back on the Lunch Break Show. And we are back. Sorry, again, I know there was a bit of a hijack of the last 30 minutes of the show, but we're gonna put a pin in the lasagna talk for one quick second.
Sorry.
We have another amazing
all
guest
ready for
in.
that.
I know you were geared up for the Olive Garden. I think you can make your own lasagna now, so that's pretty impressive.
Oh, at
And-
Olive Garden?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll get back to it. It's fine. Sorry. I really want to buy into the lasagna thing.
Well, you know what? Maybe we'll
Nothing
do
wrong with Olive
a
Garden.
little bit of A, a little bit of B. So we have Jermaine. He's a law enforcement Oh, there we go.
There I am.
Law enforcement professional. And I had a quick question I wanted to ask you.
Okay.
My wife and I were having this discussion the other day about the school shooting in Florida.
Okay.
There was an active shooter. He was on the second floor, and he had his assault rifle. There was an officer who was a security officer. He was a police officer, the resource officer, if you will,
Okay.
who was on site. The shooting is happening. There's a video of him waiting by the door to go in.
Wow.
So I think said he was waiting for backup to arrive because he knew that he said in his statement that I could hear that it was a high-powered assault rifle.
Okay.
And he goes, my vest would not have stopped that, and he was he was basically outgunned. He didn't know how many there were inside. He did not go inside. The officer who was there at the time on CNN said, "Look, I think he may have made the right call. I couldn't have done it. I would have had to have gone in. Everything inside me would have said I have to go in and at least try."
Okay.
He goes, but waiting for backup may have been his protocol. So he has been asked to. He retired early with full pension, and people in Florida are
old was
upset. He was close to retirement. He was from the looks of things. I'm gonna guess late to mid to late 40s.
Okay.
And he was a heavier set guy, if that matters at all. It shouldn't. But that everyone was upset, saying that he should have not gotten anything and been forced to retire because they did the tally, and if he would have gone in right away, 3 kids may not have lost their lives.
Understand.
So
How do they arrive at that statistic?
they know from the moment of the clock and the time, and they
Gotcha.
mapped out the shooting, so they can say, hey, he could have at least.
He could have.
Could have,
Interdicted
yeah.
Or came in
Okay.
contact with them.
Yeah, shoulda, woulda, coulda, and to me, like, it seems bad because the guy must feel awful.
Well, it is bad. It's
Yeah.
definitely bad. What I would say is, as we train now for active shooter, the first rule in active shooter as a law enforcement officer is stop the killing. Paramount.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a difference between an active shooter, someone that is actively shooting, gun going off, bang, 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 and someone who is threatening to shoot and there is no shots being fired. Those two different situations. Active shooter, stop the shooting. If he did not want the job of being in harm's way, he should have chosen a different profession.
Sure.
Correct. But that also goes back to training. How was he trained? Was he trained in a way to be appropriate? This is the stance that I take. This is the avenues that I go through, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But the rules for active shooter are stop the killing. That is first and paramount, especially when we're speaking of innocence, especially when we're speaking of children.
Yeah.
I mean, there is no other way around it.
Okay.
It's tough, right? Because on the one hand, like, I get it, you're waiting for backup. On the other hand, isn't that like, I mean, that was the first thing I was going to say when you're like, oh, he was standing outside. I was going, oh, of course, he was waiting for backup. And I didn't even know what the reality was. Yeah. You're just quick to say that because it's a natural execution of the alternative. That's like trying to shoot a goal in basketball, missing, but your teammate catches it, and you're like, right, that was really a pass all along. Like, come on. Like, of course you're waiting for backup. Like, that's the best logical excuse to have. Maybe he was. But at the same time, like, you're kind of right a little bit. I get why people are upset because it's like, what do you get a paycheck for? Like, that's part of your gig.
Well,
like, that's you're the guy. You gotta get in there, right? So
it's not
I
so
don't
much
know.
about the paycheck, right? Because if this is your profession and you're only doing it for a paycheck, you get statements such as "I was waiting for backup."
Sure, and
especially being a school resource officer. So if he was dedicated to that school, he knew the children and the teachers and the principals at the school. So he had relationships there, right? So there's a difference. They are sheepdogs, there are wolves, and there are sheep. The children were the sheep. He was the sheepdog. He was posted there to protect the sheep from the wolves.
Right.
He did not do that.
Right.
Yeah, that was my my concern, and one of those deals. And now I saw that, and I wanted to get your opinion on that. I saw that Greg Abbott is trying to pass a bill where we arm teachers and put more security personnel on campus. as a law enforcement professional, how hesitant are you to go, yes, let's give teachers guns? Because to me, that sounds like a horrible idea.
I don't have all the information in front of me to
Sure.
make a conscious, hey, this is
course.
good, this is bad. But what I would say is, in the state of Texas, especially now with the license to open carry, things are changing. Like, we expect as law enforcement to come in contact with people with guns. That is the norm now in Texas. However, when you introduce more guns into a gun battle, it has the opportunity to create more casualties. So, and I'm sure that the powers that be that make these decisions will vet the people that they have with these guns and have protocols set in order to protect against that.
Sure.
Yeah.
But
Go ahead.
they said there was going to be extensive training and different things they would have to go through to be able to carry. It just seems like to me, like I had enough teachers when I was going to high school that were on the verge of like any minute now they're going to break. Like they're drinking Jack Daniels out of a coffee mug, thinking they're fooling everyone. But I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of vetting, a lot of like things they would have to go through to get that process. But it just seems like I've never thought more guns was the answer.
Yeah, especially since a lot of these shootings seem to be from students, and the answer to getting guns away from students is putting a gun in every classroom. Like, that does not seem like a solution at all. Like, that seems, you're telling me all I have to do is get into the teacher's desk and you're armed? Like, that seems like a mistake to me. Like, but maybe there's a training process. Maybe they'll keep things locked. Like, I don't understand how, like, this seeming lack of personal responsibility in the way that these students are getting firearms is extending to a professional setting in a classroom. Like,
Yes.
that seems misguided.
I get it. So if you read Dave Grossman and follow Dave Grossman, book on killing, he does statistical analysis based on school shooting situations. And unlike the 1920s when we were having fires in schools and children were being killed based on these fires, we went through a long gamut of making protocols to stop schools from catching on fire. So within the last 100 years, we haven't had a school catch on fire where children were killed based on that fire. We need to start making those same kind of protocols.
Right. But
Like bulletproof glassing, we need to start spending money and find out what alternatives we have. What I will say, shooting is a diminishing skill. You have to shoot on a regular basis. Even the guys on special op teams, they train rigorously and often to be competent and accurate. So anytime that we put guns in the hands and we're going to make shots when other bodies were in the room, there has to be a ton of training before that happens.
Yeah.
my thing, to bring it back to the fire analogy, what would you say to somebody who you install a sprinkler system in the ceiling to put out a fire if one happens? What happens if somebody comes along, the school accountant or something, one of the bean counters, who goes, no, this won't work, because if there's a little fire over here, the whole room gets drenched and you trash a room full of computers. This is worse than the solution. How do you inform somebody to help them see that is a better way?
There's this thing now. I don't think you can ever inform anyone, but
unfortunately not. I think so. Yeah.
But I was gonna say there's some tech. You're talking about sprinklers and those kind of things. There's some tech now they have in Asia, where I think Asia and Brazil, where like armed robberies of like convenience stores are like really high, and they put out basically it's like fog. Like it's a fog that immediately comes down and fills the room, so you can't see anything.
Yeah,
and that's a huge preventative where I can't see what's happening, and they just walk out. And so if you could have those in the rooms, you could hit a button, and the whole room fills with smoke. And I think as I'm talking about this, the sad part is we're talking about how to prevent shootings inside schools.
Right.
And like that, it just seems like we're working so hard on the prevention instead of the
And I'm glad you said that. So we just had a conversation about that. So we hold On Fire Books, Good Life Living Group. We have what's called the Conversation Circle. And we have conversations regarding mentorship, leadership, entrepreneurs, people who are changing the world. And the question came up, would a conversation help and stop some of these school shootings before they happen, being preventative, these conversations? So during the conversation, what I said is that if you look at these school shootings, they are all attached to a feeling of hopelessness and despair on the party of the person shooting. Now, I don't care what religion you are in, you would describe your God as omnipotent, always potential, always full. That is the total opposite of what we're describing what's going on with these shooters and being hopeless.
Yeah.
So I think, as speaking of, I'm sure we're going to put defense mechanisms to stop shootings in the process, but a part of being proactive is having conversations with these youth to find out what is it why are suicide rates going through the roof? Why are we having these active shooter issues? And it's all jointed.
Yeah. Well, I thank you for taking the time out to join us today. Your input and insight, and hopefully, I know you're doing things now where you're working with other schools, helping them in this process as well. So hopefully that helps. Jermaine, thank you so much for joining us. Coming back on the lunch break, we will get back to the ever-ending question of how do you make your own lasagna out of the Olive Garden?
Which kind of cheese?
Yeah. And we are back on the Lunch Break Show. I have to do a little mic check, make sure. I can't see the board, and so I have to assume if the mic's on.
We are back.
Yep.
Love it.
Here we go. We are talking about, again, I told you guys before we sat down today, today's show could be wheels off.
Matt, welcome to the show. Yeah, you've been awfully quiet.
How's it going?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's National Donut Day. I don't know if you guys knew that.
National Donut Day.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, it has been a little bit wheels off. And if you're used to checking out the Lunch Break Show for our fun, non-controversial topics, you have been sorely disappointed today.
Let me tell you, I like when we're able to just slowly break new ground on the show and break into ways we haven't gone before, because then we can do it again later and cite this as a reason for it. Like, oh, well, the only reason I said that is because that one time we did that thing.
Is probably the correct.
And that was, that flew, so why can't we do this? And this opens up our tool belt of things we can talk about on the show. So... Yes. So, looking forward to more of that.
A lunch break regular here is food news.
News.
Love our food news. And we're talking about Olive Garden getting a make your own lasagna, create your own lasagna.
Contrary to my beliefs about Taco Bell, I honestly don't have that much bad to say about Olive Garden. Who don't like Olive Garden?
Olive Garden's great.
The OG.
Olive Garden has rough patch.
Sure.
They went through their awkward teenage years.
They did.
Where things weren't great. They revamped much like the beloved Chili's. They've revamped. And
I heard a lot about our opinions on Chili's the other night.
Yeah. Full disclosure, my wife was not happy. She was like, "We are not a Chili's family."
There's nothing wrong with Chili's.
Yeah.
Out of all the things to
nothing
not be
wrong with
happy
Chili's.
with on this show, Chili's.
Yeah.
I guess it's a good thing, honestly, a badge of honor that was the biggest
That's the thing
problem.
you people are going to get upset about. Wait till today.
You people.
Dear.
Food news, Olive Garden. Olive Garden, two things I like about Olive Garden. Their breadsticks are bomb.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Oh, and how about those Andy's mints that roll out at the end? That's what it's all
They
about.
don't give those anymore.
What do you mean?
They don't give those anymore.
When did they stop doing Andy's mints?
Like last year sometime. You have to ask for them. I had the thing where I liked the Andy's mints too. My wife doesn't, but I do. And I noticed they didn't bring any with the check because that's normally what they do. They'll throw like 4 in there. Or something. So I said, "Hey, what's up? The mints." I mean, I didn't say it like that. Yo, what's up with the mints? But I was just like, "Oh, do you guys not bring the mints anymore?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh no, we do it on request." But this was he didn't say it in that nice way. He said it in a real passive aggressive way, like, "Yeah, we do it on request. Let me go get some." And then he comes back with a fistful of mints and just throws them on the
Okay,
table.
well, if I gotta
Like,
ask and you come back with
here.
a fistful, I guess I'm okay with it. But what is that? We do that on request.
I
That's
don't know.
where everything starts to fall apart in America. It
It's like
really
the-
is.
yeah, it's
at
like
first,
the-
at first we just take it away and if you ask for it, you get it, and then suddenly before you know it. You don't get it at all, and we stopped doing that
No.
years ago. What's your problem?
Nobody
why are you
remembers-
why
nobody
are you
remembers the
expecting
mints
Andy's
anymore.
mints? Yeah. What's like you didn't get enough service here at Olive Garden? Suddenly the lack of Andy's mints is a problem for you, sir.
Where was that passion when Brian Glenn was on?
I
sir?
could not get in.
I
I
talking about
tried.
Andy's mints.
I wanted to. I don't know.
goodness.
Yeah.
So here's the deal with the Olive Garden. The thing that we're all on bated breath to learn more about.
Yes.
Creating your own lasagna. You get to choose the whole process. You get to sit down. You get to do 6 toppings, 4 sauces. That's huge. You don't get to choose your own noodle, but you get to choose all 4 cheeses.
Well, it's not a lasagna without the lasagna noodle,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So
Can't make a
you
lasagna
get
with
all
the
kinds of
fettuccine
stuff.
noodle.
So
Yeah.
hold on, so we're being ring. Yes, go ahead, Devin.
What's going on?
Oh, we will
I guess I
momentarily.
should go
Go
duck
ahead.
over
yeah.
there and do that. Hold on,
Again.
real quick before I go. What's next? Like the cheese parmesan? Are we taking that out too? Is that by request
Oh, dear
only?
God, get out of here.
Can we keep
Probably.
getting that? Are breadsticks by
Yeah.
request only? What's the deal?
Again, I love the passion on things that aren't relative to society. When it comes to
the
hard
only thing
hitting,
that's worth getting
hard
passionate
hitting
about
facts.
anymore.
I like this idea from Olive
I
Garden.
bet you
think
make a real monster
lasagna.
lasagna.
It'd be a beast.
I bet you make a mess.
Meat on meat.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it'd be unedible with a fork. just give me a spoon and a bowl and go away.
So here, pro tip on Olive Garden.
Yeah.
There's a little item on the appetizer menu called the dipping boat, and
You have my attention.
it's just it's a boat of sauce, and we always go for the Alfredo. So you just get a bowl of Alfredo sauce that they bring in, and you dip the breadsticks in it, and it's high class. I'm telling you, it's the way to go.
It's high class.
It's the way to go.
Anything that called the dipping boat, you're bound to be considered to be high class.
No, it's the only appetizer we ever get because it just goes along with the breadsticks, and it's perfect.
My last time, and this tells you the caliber that where they were, because I felt okay doing this, and maybe I shouldn't have. The last time I was in an Olive Garden, I was with a grown man who was in a Robin, not a Batman, but a Robin tight uniform.
Okay.
He had the costume on, wearing it inside with me, and we were both. I was dressed normally. Wife was dressed normally.
Was this a bit? Was this a radio bit?
It wasn't a radio bit. It was a
life bit?
We were doing a live, just a live bit. We were having him film something else for a friend of ours.
Okay.
And he was like, "Okay, let's just go to the Olive Garden." Oh yeah, sure, fine. He didn't think I should change, guys. Come on, we're going to the Olive Garden. He's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I'll be fine.
Did they say anything?
Not a thing.
That's because you're family. That's because when you're there, you're family. And why would family ever question why you're wearing a Robin outfit?
Yeah. You know what? To each their own, sir. Yeah, he sat there, ate the whole thing. Yeah, breadsticks and all. It was an adorable day spent with my friend in the Robin outfit. Other food news about meat. There's a meat scented candle. That sounds awful.
That does sound awful. I'm not even really on board with the leather scented candle. I know there are people who dig that, but like the man sense of candles, I'm not really down for that. Give me a good fresh spring day or a good cherry or a lemon or something like that.
Yeah,
I like the fresh scents. I don't like the spicy scents, but the leather or coffee. Coffee's a really good.
Ooh, I haven't tried them before.
Yeah. Coffee scented candle. That's the way to go.
That's dope.
I'm giving you so much life advice here today, folks. You learned so much today.
Just pouring it on.
But yeah, the meat. No, thanks.
The flavors they have are original meat, which I'm not sure. I'm not sure what that is. It's not soy. It's the original meat.
That's the original meat.
Yeah, thank you.
Meat, the original.
They also have burgers. They also have backyard barbecue, which
that
one
sounds like
could
some
be
smoke
good.
or something.
Yeah. I don't understand. Like, my wife hates that smell, but we do it whenever we're cooking because you have to.
Yeah.
I can't imagine she wants the whole house to smell like the grill. Yeah, it's never.
As a gag, you ought to get some of these and just light them around the house without telling her.
Well, yeah, I'll get 3 original meats, whatever that is, and just light them throughout the house. Like, take out the trash, Josh. No, that's a candle, my friend.
It's a candle.
That's
the way I want this house to smell.
And then lastly, in food news, we have Coke. And again, this seems like it's going to be a gag. But Coke is doing their first sale of boozy beverages.
Yeah.
So, and again, everyone knows Coke for, Jack and Coke, putting Coke in your hard alcohol.
I mean, it makes
taste
sense,
good.
right?
So, but again, they're not doing that. They're not doing Jack and Coke, which would be the obvious comparison. The obvious
rum
thing.
and Coke.
Yep, rum and Coke work as well. They're doing lemon-flavored fizzy drink, which is spiked with booze.
All right.
So just totally off the reservation.
It's not even Coke, then.
Not even Coke. They're using lemon-flavored fizzy drink is what they're saying it is. And you can get it in 3%, 5%, or 7% alcohol. I'm just
7%. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean,
let's rock this
if
thing.
I'm drinking lemon-flavored fizzy drink, I want to get messed up.
So it's more like a hard lemonade or something like that.
Yeah,
maybe.
Mike's hard. I made fun of a friend of mine for drinking Mike's hard lemonade. He goes, "It comes in extra hard now." Oh, okay, because that's
better.
Yeah,
extra hard.
Yeah, got it. That made it less lame.
I went through. I'm not ashamed. I went through a Smirnoff Ice period.
Sure. Yeah.
I think a lot of people did. It's when you're starting out. It tastes good, so you're like, oh, I can handle this alcohol thing.
Yeah, it's a good I remember I had turned 21, and of course I had consumed beverages beforehand, but I know, shocking. But I was 21, and I was in an airport in New York, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to sit down and order myself a beer, like a man.
A big man.
A big man beer. And so I sat down at the bar, and I'll have, like, what is the most American beer? Sam Adams. All right. I'll have a Samuel Adams, please. And it was like chewing. Sam Adams is so heavy. It was like I couldn't drink the whole thing. I had like 4 sips. Had to leave it on the bar and go catch my.
I was like, I'm not ready for this.
Yeah, I'm not ready to be a man yet. I'm not ready to dip my hand into the Samuel Adams. That is a stout beer.
Sure,
old Sam Adams. So that was my first. Do you remember your first like hardcore beer?
It was probably, hardcore beer. No, it was probably Corona. It was the first beer I ever had. A little Corona and lime, and then it's Bud Light like everybody else.
Yeah,
jumped to Shiner pretty quickly after that, and never looked back.
I had a question for Matt, and I wanted to ask him, but he's busy with the show. So
yeah,
jump on and ask it. Is it supposed to be
please.
like unnaturally small waveforms in there? Is that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. But I did it right. Great.
Yeah, no, they're tiny. We can boost them later.
Am I
Let's just get all our work done on the show today.
Am I missing a beer bid? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, no,
Close
we're
the
doing
door.
beer
Hold
bits.
the beer
I'll be
bit.
back.
Oh,
All right,
jeez.
keep this going. I'll come back.
No way we can.
I missed the Olive Garden.
Yeah. Again, I had said before on the show it's going to be wheels off, and that is exactly what we had.
Easily the most wheels off.
Oh, easily. Yeah.
we've ever done.
So I'll give you a little behind the scenes here today, folks. So we are we are a broadcasting room that does a show, but we are the arm of a PR firm.
Yes.
So at any given time, we can have guests pop in, pop out, show up, come in, and we're having to just make up a conversation about what they want to talk about.
Yeah.
So that's what happened today. We had three surprise guests come in and take up studio time. So that's why Zach had to run off to make sure everything's working for them so they have a good experience. For us, it's just, devil take care. We can figure it out.
Which is great, but sometimes you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, and most of the times, we pull it off flawlessly.
Yeah.
You don't ever know how crazy it is behind the scenes. today you're getting a good.
Today
good
was
peek.
that 1 out of 99 times that we don't do it.
You're getting a good peek behind the curtain today. So that I'm not gonna wait around for old Matt Zach to talk about the booze thing.
Sorry.
He
Let's
misses
do
out.
that off the air.
We again have a great Friday. Today is also National Leave Work Early Day. So on that note,
Oh, that
you
sounds
have,
great after today's
yeah,
show.
yeah, you have our permission to just take off, enjoy yourself. Say, you know what, I can't deal with any more.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. You guys have a great day. I'll see you on Monday. I am Josh, not Zach, and Matt in studio signing off. Have a phenomenal weekend. Enjoy yourself.
Is Anna back on Monday?
Anna should be back. I'm not for sure.
How about that?
Yeah, we'll see.